This is part one of the tutorial that's going to show you how to make your digital robots. I'm going to start by firing up Photoshop. I haven't added Photoshop to my dock yet, so I'm going to show you quickly how to do that. So I'm going to fire up the Finder, and Photoshop is going to be in my Applications folder. Here we are, Adobe CS5. Here's Photoshop CS5. There's the program file, so I'm just going to drag a shortcut from there onto my dock. So I've got a shortcut now to my Photoshop on the dock, and let's fire up Photoshop. This will be the first time that I've fired up Photoshop on this Mac, but there it is, nice and quick. Okay, I have downloaded a bunch of source photographs, so from iLearn, in the robots section there's a link to download your source photos, and I've got those in my my downloads folder. So here's my downloads folder on my dock, and I'm just going to pop those on my desktop. There we are. So the folder of robot source images is on my desktop. Let's open that up. And you see, because I'm in icon view, I've got icons of all of my images. That's quite handy. Of course, I could make the size of my icons larger, moving the slider so I can see what those are. Even bigger, I could use the this view here, and I can scroll through my photographs that way to see what they look like. Yeah. So either of those ways would be useful. I prefer the icon view, old-fashioned way, I think. So those are my images. These are my source images that are going to make up my robot. Okay, so let's open up a couple of these images. I'm going to open two to begin with, because there's something in Photoshop I want to show you. I quite like, there's an image here which I quite like as a head. I quite like this one here. If I want a preview of the image, or a bigger preview, I can press the space bar. Brings up a bigger preview, so I quite like that image. I'm going to open up that one in Photoshop, so I can drag onto Photoshop to open up. There it goes. And I quite like these cranks as arms or legs, but there's a better one somewhere. This is a nicer one. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so we'll take that one. Let's open that one up. Let's drag again onto Photoshop. And I'm going to take a body. So let's take this one here. Okay, I'm going to double click on this. I'm doing this on purpose. Double click. And of course it doesn't open in Photoshop, it's opened in Preview. So I'm going to show you how to quickly change that setting. So I've got my file selected in Finder. I'm going to go to the I for information, or you can go to press the Command and I on your keyboard, which will give you the information for the file. And what I want to do is here is open with, and I'm going to choose, instead of Preview, I'm going to choose Photoshop CS5. I'm going to click on Change All. Yeah, close that there. And now when I double click on any of my JPEG images, they will open in Photoshop. Okay, so I've got 3 files in Photoshop. Now with Photoshop CS5, the default setting, the way it's set up out of the box, if you like, is for all of your images to open in separate tabs inside one window. Now, some people like that. Personally, I like it the old-fashioned way, where each of the individual images is in a separate window. I've got good reasons for that, which I'll explain a little bit later. You can easily separate the tabs just by dragging the tab out, but that can be quite time-consuming. The other option is to set the option in Photoshop Preferences, so I'm going to quickly do that. Photoshop and Preferences. I'm going to go to Interface here, and I'm going to untick the choice that says Open Documents as Tabs. So untick that, and that means let's close this one. Let's open it again, and you'll see it opens in a new window rather than a new tab. So I do have good reasons for doing that, and I'm going to show you that in a second. So I've got at the moment, three images which would be useful as parts of my robot. I'm thinking this could be a good body. This might be a good head, and this part of the bicycle chain set would make a nice part of an arm. Okay, so I've got some parts. I need a new piece of paper, if you like, to start building these onto. This is basically like collage. It's basically like cutting bits of photographs out and sticking them down on a new sheet of paper to make a paper collage. So I need my new sheet of paper to build my collage onto. So I'm going to make a new file. So File and New, and I'm going to choose here from the presets. I'm going to choose International Paper because I want an A3 paper size. So I want A3. And before I do anything else, I'm not going to click OK. I'm going to change my resolution of this page to being 150 pixels per inch. And make sure this is set to pixels per inch, not pixels per centimeter. Pixels per inch, 150. That's going to give me a slightly smaller file size image. Still be A3 page, but in terms of file size, it'll be slightly smaller. It makes it a bit easier to work with. So I'm going to OK on that. It says custom. Actually, I'll show you how you can save that as a preset. So if I click on Save Preset, I can choose that to be A3 150 pixels per inch, and that will now be in my custom presets. A3 150 pixels per inch. The next time I come to it, I can just choose that. OK, bang, there's my A3 page. That's the page I'm going to build my collage onto. The thing about resolutions, I'm not going to go into that right now, but there is a very good link on the iLearn website. So if I go to iLearn, and down my left hand side here, or right hand side, sorry, I've got my delicious bookmarks. There's a really good link here, Handy Guide to Image Resolutions in Print. Let's open that in a new tab. And this article will tell you about resolutions very nicely, probably better than I could. So use that to learn about resolutions. Okay, back into Photoshop. I'm going to start building, oops, I didn't mean to do that, there we are. I want to start building my collage on my new page. So I'm going to, first of all, let's find my body image. Okay, remember I set up my hot corners here to be Photoshop files, so Photoshop documents, so there's the body. I'm going to cut around this body shape and separate it from its background so I can stick it onto my new A3 page. There are several ways of doing this. I've chosen this image intentionally to show you how to use the first one, which is about, it's like a magnetic lasso tool which clings to the edge of the image. So this tool is over here under the lasso. If I hold my mouse button down, so I've got options here, lasso, polygonal lasso, magnetic lasso. I'm going to choose the magnetic lasso tool. And I'm going to start anywhere on the edge. This works because I've got a very clear definition between the object and its background. Photographed on a white background, quite a dark object, very clear outlines. So this is going to work. This tool is going to work really well. So click once, and as you see, as I drag my mouse down the side of the object, I'm being fairly careful about this. You see it's putting little squares on, which are reference points. You can mix this up a little bit with manual points. So when you get to very sort of close corners, do a click and it sets a manual point. And I'm just doing a couple on the edges here. Be fairly quick now. Now in a moment I'm going to intentionally go wrong. So let's start going off here. And you see now I've got some points which are all wrong. I'm going to press the backspace key on my keyboard and it undoes those points one by one, and I can pick up back to a point where I want it to be. To here. I'm not too worried about being accurate around these sort of eerie bits. I say ears, you know what I mean. Because they look a little bit like ears, don't they? And when I get back to the start, this little circle appears just on the icon there. Little circle, that means it's back to the start. Click once, it joins the lines up, and you get this sort of marching ant effect, which shows that that's the area which is selected. I'm going to copy that section now and paste it onto my new document. So edit, copy, keyboard shortcuts Command and C. Let's go onto my new A3 page. Edit, paste, Command and V is the shortcut, and my body appears on there. And you'll see in the layers dialog box, it's appeared as a brand new layer. So one layer, body. And I'm going to call that the body layer, because I'm going to end up with lots of layers on here, so I need to make sure I remember which layer is which. So there's body. I'm now going to close this image, close it down. So there's the first way of making a selection and copying and pasting to paste onto you to start building your robot. The next tutorial is going to show you another way of making that selection.